time Zest lifted that trophy with one hand, and he said that was important to him because, I quote, he wanted to look good doing it. Well, Zest,
I don't think there was any way he would not do so.
We'll see if he can get there again. He's gonna have to get past this man in the laptop side. We're looking at the main base of one of the most, perhaps, underrated players in this tournament. It is Deer.
Definitely flies under the radar, but a fantastic player. His opponent, representing Team Raise Your Edge, it is Zest.
Triton is going to be our first map for this PvP best of 5. We of course know that in this map, or on this map rather, whoa, okay, we're going to talk about that soon. This ramp is important. I want to say it's one of the few maps where you can expand a little bit safer than on some of the other PvP maps, because you can utilize that ramp going into your natural, and that's obviously where force fields can shine the most. Even if it's a relatively big map with a couple of sentries and especially a shield battery, you're going to be fine. But look at what we got over here. Deer dropping his first pylon on the low ground, something we are very used to seeing in different matchups, PvZ of course. In this one, not so much. There are a couple weird bolts out there on Triton where you can go for super quick expands. I didn't really think that Deer would ever go for something as wild as a 1-gate fast expand, but Johan, I'm starting to believe that is actually what's happening. He's even gonna go for the expand before Cybercore against Zest. Zest is gonna scout this and he's like, boy, do you want to die?
Zest is being super thorough with the probes, by the way. He has 2 probes out on the map right now, and upon realizing what's happening here, he gets to make a choice right now. Does he play very aggressive? Does he expand himself? Sees the second gas being added on now.
He will never expand, I think, if he has that probe on the left top side as well. Like, the first one is in the main base, pretending like, hey man, don't worry, I'm not proxying yet. And then the second probe is like, boom, I am actually proxying. And I think what's very cool as well is that I think Zest did drop a second pylon in his main base. So if you're Deer right now, you're scouting this, and you're like, oh, everything looks somewhat normal, right? He has 1 probe in my main base, he's got 2 pylons in his main base as well. I don't think I have too much to worry about. I am shocked that Zest is revealing this probe, actually. Like, yeah, really shocked. Because now I think at this point, if you are Deer, start building shield batteries, my friend, because clearly something is heading your way.
Does Deer actually close the gates as well? Like, if he really wants to respect this, I think he might have to. Proxy Robo here will be made. It was a little bit delayed. That pylon had been up for some time now, but he must have seen that maybe there was just a sentry first and not too much to worry about for the time being here. Zest gonna stop moving across the map with the depths. Does he go for a prism first or an immortal?
I actually wouldn't mind a prism, right? Try to drop 2 adepts into the main base and then queue it up with the immortal. Because I think if you go immortal immediately, Deer should be ready for this. I mean, this is going to be a very fun and feisty PvP, guys. This could be over within 2 minutes from now on. Deer is playing a very risky strategy. He should know that if you go for a 1-gate fast expand in this matchup, there is a very big chance that your opponent is going to be crazy aggressive. Deer scouts it. He knows what he's going up against, but can he actually deal with it?
That Stalker is actually locked out now. And if you're Zest and you're pressuring that wall, here's the thing. You can actually tear down this wall. You can kill it from the low grounds and then bridge through. Only one core in the wall can actually be super dangerous here for Deer, because then you would have to remake that to be able to make Stalkers and Sentries.
One thing I'm very worried about, by the way, oh my goodness, this is not gonna go well, man. The Adepts are getting in already. A Sentry gets sniped. Deer, you're playing a very risky strategy in the first game.
He's gonna shade in the main base.
He's in so much trouble, Todd. He has only 1 pylon powering the gate and the robo in his natural. If that pylon goes down, Deer is down and out in this game. But I think he's already in all the trouble, because these Adepts were not supposed to be here.
Deer with a very gutsy build here, trying to fast expand on Triton. Zest scouted it, reacted immediately, went for the proxy robo. Now he's killing probes left and right, might shade back straight into the main base. No, he's gonna try to evacuate here with one of his adepts, but the first immortal is about to come out now for Zest, and he's gonna start walking on his wall.
I wouldn't have minded the other 2 adepts trying to get into the main base. Yeah. I mean, that's a Stalker going down as well. Deer obviously does have that shield battery. The adepts could potentially sort of function as a force field as well. All of these adepts are actually going in main base. Actually, he gets also the shade of 2 of them. That's very smart. So Zest just wants to get some more economic damage done. Guns down that shield battery immediately.
Wow.
And don't forget, still only a single pylon in the natural of Deer.
Nice surround actually from Deer. Really dealing with those adepts super well. There is a Sentry with Guardian Shield here. War Prism for Zest. There isn't one for Deer. Oh, he's got the 2 immortals. One of those took so much damage. It's almost down. Yep. Zest with some nice pickup in micro here.
Actually, with the Warp Prism, I do think Zest is going to be fine here. It's so easy for him to save that second Immortal. Losing the first one was a little bit sloppy. I think Deer just took a little too much economic damage, man. He lost too many probes, and this build just seems like you cannot make any mistakes with it. And right now, Deer is going to be forced to tap out. GG, Zest will take a 1-0 lead here in the quarterfinal. Crazy that Deer would decide to go for a 1-gate fast expand in a best-of-5 against. We know how much of a PvP expert Zest is. It's just risky, man. Like, quarterfinals have been a big roadblock for Deer in the past. I would say play something a little safer, a little more normal, something that allows you to get into your comfort zone.
I mean, if he pulled it off, we would have called him the genius as well. So it was risky. It feels like Zest had the appropriate response for sure here, with some good execution.
Yeah, I think it goes two ways, right? Like, Zest obviously knew what he wanted to do. I feel like Deer was sort of aware of it. He was preparing for it. I think just that Adepts going into the main base not once, but twice. Obviously, the first time was the worst moment. I think that really kind of sealed the deal for this game already. Deer's like, oh, I can hold, but I am not allowed to make any mistakes. And letting those Adepts into the main base clearly was a mistake.
It's awkward, because usually you'd have the wall of at your ramp that goes into the main base, but now he had the wall of at his expo, and he wasn't ready yet to make more buildings to make sure those Adepts don't get in. So as soon as they got in, as you said, they dealt a ton of damage, and it was really, really hard for Zest to hold on from there. If that hadn't happened and he was sealed off at the expo, I think he can just make like a ton of shield batteries and maybe be fine, and then just be super far ahead, because Zest wasn't expanding in the other side of the map.
No, I'm with you. Obviously, if he doesn't lose that many workers, you're basically doing the same thing as your opponent, but you are defending, he is attacking, he has to go upper ramp as well. You can say there is some high ground vision with the Warp Prism, but you have to be very careful with the Warp Prism. So Deer could have potentially pulled it off. It's just there's no room for errors when you go for build orders like that in PvP. And Zest will think, well, thank you very much. I'll take a 1-0 lead in this best-of-5. The previous Intel Extreme Masters champion has now won 4 PvPs in a row in the playoffs at IEM Katowice 2020. He's eager for more. Can he make it 5? We're about to find out as we are loading into Nightshade.
Starting in the top left-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Protoss, it is KZ Gaming's Deer.
Obviously, nobody wants to see the same thing happen to him as happened in the past, where he was so good in the early days and couldn't get it done in the playoffs. In the right bottom side, look at the main base of the man. But all he does is win PvPs in a row. It is Zest.
It's just a monster in mirror. Like, it's so hard to be so consistent at a matchup that is so volatile, right? Also, like, we've seen metas changing, but for the longest time, he's been really good at PvP mirror.
Yep, he did drop the series early this tournament against Showtime. That was actually just Showtime playing some incredibly solid PvP.
Yeah.
Zest still looked good in a loss as well. A couple of times when he was hitting roadblocks in those games, he found ways to transition out of it very quickly. But Showtime was just on point and knew when to punish Zest when he got a little bit ahead. But you are spot on, man. Like, Zest's knowledge and his understanding of this matchup, it's a matchup where often you see so little, but it always feels like Zest actually sees it all.
Yeah, he gets the maximum information that he can with what he has, anticipates all the possible moves. And whether he has to play offensive or defensive, it seems like he's just super well-rounded in it. No matter what the situation is. Doesn't make too many mistakes. But yeah, Deer in game 1, that was just a very unique build. Yeah, very risky, it felt like.
That I think he would only ever try on Triton because of that ramp that goes into the natural. I think we're going to see slightly more normal builds coming out of there in the rest of this series. I'm curious to see what Zest is going to do. Don't tell me he's even thinking about something very bizarre here now. I think he's just looking for proxies. There is a crazy PvP build where you actually build one of your pylons in your opponent's natural. And then you build a robo there as well, but
there's
super
a lot
risky.
of space behind those minerals, but you would expect Deer to check back there. We'll see. He's going at depth right now.
Maybe it's just for a scout later on, right? Like trying to move that probe to see if there's a nexus there or not. If Deer doesn't find a probe immediately, that could be an easy way to see if your opponent is expanding or not. We see the Stargate going down on the side of Deer. And he obviously has a couple of adepts on the way. It's double adept, by the way, on both sides. I find it really interesting how many of the Korean Protoss players seem to be quite a fan of the double adept opening. Well, mostly of most of the European Protosses, they actually prefer the double Stalker opening or Stalker Sentry opening.
Zest is going 4 adepts, actually. Whereas Deer went double adept into double Stalker here with his Stargate. So Zest, now dropping down the Nexus, is probably looking to try and get aggressive with the Adepts that he has out on the map.
Yeah, Dia did warp in a shield battery on top of his ramp to make sure that these Adepts could not get in. But Zest, I want to say, already got 2 probes. He almost missed that one. But he should be able to get out of here as well with these Adepts. We do see the Expand going down, so it's an Oracle against an Expand build for Zest. And then Zest is going to follow it up with the Robo. I don't hate these kind of scenarios for Deer. The Oracle should be very useful in situations like this because Zest is opening up with so many Adepts. He doesn't have that much anti-air. We do see a couple of Adepts making it into the main base of Zest as well. How many probes are going to fall? It seems like the answer is 3.
Yeah, then he gets the cleanup. So that's 24 probes to 21 with the earlier Nexus for Zest here. That's a lot of Adepts to counter-attack with, though. And it's going to be very hard for Deer to be ready against this. Does see it coming here with the Oracle.
But he's going to ignore it for now. Zest doesn't really have any anti-air at all, so we could potentially see a stasis, or he's just going to try to drain the battery. I don't really mind either choice. It is going to be a stasis, and Zest just kills it with probes. But don't see that very often.
Yeah. He headbutted that stasis immediately as he started being planted down. Adepts fighting against Stalkers is usually not good, especially with a shield battery in there. So Zest is gonna shade on out of there.
Really awkward opening.
Probe count.
Really awkward opening by Zest, right? This many Adepts feels a little bit risky. Not exactly sure what you're hoping for there. It's gonna follow it up with a super quick Warp Prism as well. Maybe try to drop 2 Adepts into the main base. But after the Oracles, we now have a Phoenix on the way as well. I like where this is going for Deer, and I'm happy to see that. We, of course, want to see a close and competitive series, and I think it's important for him to find some rhythm in this PvP, and I think that Deer is actually looking mighty fine here in Game 2.
Yeah, he's got a good walker count here to work with. Decent amount ahead. Zest was mining with only 2 probes on one of his gases, kind of weird. And he's not really making probes right now. He's adding 1 more gate, getting an observer as well.
Seems like he wants to get a little bit aggressive, which is quite crazy against double Oracle. Then again, Deer might be forced to keep his Oracles at home.
This feels like all in. He's warping in units, he's adding on 1 more gate, he's 10 walkers behind. And I don't know if that Deer knows that this is coming.
There isn't that much anti-air though. It's important the Oracles stay alive. That Oracle does take a lot of damage. Deer, you're gonna need another shield battery or 2. That's exactly what he's going to warp in there on the left side. These Oracles, they have a lot of potential here because they can pick off Adepts very quickly. Oh no, one of them gets sniped immediately.
He's gonna try to shade inside of the main base. Does cancel that here. Guardian Shield is gonna come in super handy, especially against that many Stalkers. The Phoenix trying to come to the help of everything. Oracles went down.
Oh my goodness, Deer losing both Oracles, losing 10 probes already as well. That second shield battery is close to finishing up, but Zest still has so many Stalkers. That Phoenix goes down as well. A good force with on the ramp is going to zone out a couple of those Stalkers at the right top side. And I don't know how this man does it, Todd, but he just keeps on winning PvPs. It is insane. Even when he doesn't get the dream start, even when things are not supposed to work, he just runs through the other side of the map and he gets it done. This Immortal is halfway done, but I'm afraid that it's going to be a little too late for Deer.
It feels like Zest just understands all the angles, all the possible plays. He always finds the one route that he can win a game with. Even when he's this much behind, he was quite a few walkers behind. He was like, well, he probably won't expect an attack from me here. Maybe he gets a little too greedy, drops down the forge, goes for robo units. Now that Immortal is in danger, there's still the Warp Prism from Zest to help out. Not on Deer's side. And he's running out of those units here that could have helped against this many Stalkers. And Deer is going to have to tap out. Zest goes up 2-0 in a game that felt like he was going to be so far behind. Goes for the one attack that Deer couldn't hold on against.
This man is relentless. I gotta say though, I think that Deer panicked a little bit. When he saw that Warp Prism, when he saw the amount of depths and he saw Stalkers as well, you could see after he took a lot of shots at his Oracle at first, those 2 Oracles, if they can fight in the range of a shield battery, they can actually push out an insane amount of damage on the Sentry, on the Adepts, and if that Phoenix just starts working on the Warp Prism immediately, you know, you gotta choose if you're Zest. Do you want to gun down the Oracles? Do you want to gun down the Phoenix? Do you want to gun down the Stalkers? But it just felt that Deer's focus was all over the place, while Zest knew exactly what he had to do, and he got the job done.
Zest's second Nexus was the biggest decoy here. He just made that and he was like, well, I have no intention of using that. I'm just going to go across the map and kill you with a ton of gateways. And honestly, like, that was the best possible way for him to win this game. Maybe the only. If he had tried to come back in a macro game, make a bunch more units, in terms of tech, he was behind. There was 2 Oracles on the other side. He had no proper way to deal with them. He would have had to play defensively. And we know how solid Deer can be. Being ahead economically, he would have just started +1, gotten an earlier third, just better tech, better army.
Yeah, it's hard, right? If you're expanding pretty much at the same time and you're going for the Robo, if you're Zest, and you do want to play a longer game, you're basically forcing yourself to stay at home forever. Because if you leave your base against 2 Oracles, you can end up losing so many probes. But Zest shows no fear. He's like, all right, even if you decide to use those Oracles in my main base, and even if you pick up a whole bunch of them, I'm just going to try to go ahead and kill you. I actually think if they would have sent both Oracles to the main and just sacrificed his natural, he would have been in really good shape. He technically didn't even have to defend the low ground, but the Oracles were at home, and almost everything that could have possibly gone wrong for this man went wrong. Starting to have a serious deja vu. He's so good in the early days of the tournament, but in the quarterfinals he just seems to struggle. Let's hope for him he can turn things around on the right top side of World of Sleepers. The man who's down 0-2 in this quarterfinal. It is Deer.
His opponent is looking absolutely unstoppable right now. In Protoss mirror, it's Razor Edge's Zest. Maybe he studied from the masterclass. Went for the triple check raise here, and Deer just wasn't ready.
You know, it's funny because we know that Zest is capable of playing mid-game timings and like later macro-oriented PvP as well. In general, he loves to attack, and he just keeps getting away with it, which is so insane because you'd expect people to be a little more defensive, be a little more wary of those kind of things. And the series that he lost against Showtime, he was also the aggressor, but Showtime never underreacted. Every single time he had the feeling there was a chance that Zest was going to attack him. It was multiple shield batteries and cannons, and that really saved Showtime a couple of times. And meanwhile, Deer is trying to play, I don't want to say as greedy as possible, but he is thinking like 2 or 3 steps ahead in the game, while Zest is like, you forgot about the first step, mate, and that is defend the upcoming attack.
Yeah. I wonder what Deer's state of mind was going into this match, because maybe he thinks he needs to cut a few corners here and there, but so far cutting the corners means he's going to lose to whatever it is that would put him in danger while cutting those corners, and Zest just thrives in these kind of games. And now it looks like, I mean, he's up 2-0. If you're Zest here, you might mix in something even a little bit crazier, a little bit more aggressive. Again, like we've seen so many probes out on the map early on in those mirrors here in this series. Zest has a probe scouting on the other side of the map, but he has a second probe out on the map, putting down a Stargate at 12 o'clock.
I love that though, because you can see Deer is going to keep a close eye on this probe. He's like, if I get proxied, I want to make sure that I know where it is. At this point, he doesn't really have any idea about this Stargate going up. I'm really starting to get worried, man. It just feels like Deer, in the first 2 games, he's thinking about how to win Archon, Zealot, Immortal battles, and Zest is thinking about how to win with simple gateway units. At this point, it seems like Deer's gonna switch it up. He's like, you know what? I'll go for the traditional 3-gate Robo, and I'll take the game from there. Well, one of the worst case scenarios when you go 3-gate Robo is if you have no shield battery in your main middle line and an Oracle shows up. Obviously, if he does get the shield battery, it's not that bad, as we do have an Adept skirmish, and Zest actually ended up losing an Adept there. But Johan, it's so important he gets a battery, and I believe Deer just warped in. No? What? Didn't we have 2 batteries at one point? No, wait, that was Zest actually. Deer needs a shield battery in his main mineral line, Johan, otherwise this is a disaster. The Oracle is out. Where is your anti-air, Deer? He's getting the battery right
so
now.
Late, the Oracle is gonna fly in. This could be a disaster here for Deer. He needs to react quickly, needs to move probes out of the way.
I mean, this is already so painful. An insane amount of lost mining time. 5 workers going down, and at this point, even if Deer thinks about attacking, how do you attack? Zest already has 2 Oracles out on the map. You'd either be forced to leave 3 Stalkers at home, which means your attack is weird. I hope he's aware of this, but I mean, he could technically recall it, but he also needs to Chrono Boost probes out. Okay, yeah, sending the Immortal back.
He might be counting on Zest not having much units at all. I mean, he only has 2 Stalkers right now, but this could get dangerous. Oracle flies back.
There's a second Oracle as well. At this point, Zest is like, this is too good to be true. It almost feels like Deer did not expect or did not think that Zest would ever make a second Oracle, but there is a second Oracle. Deer is about to lose even more probes here, and this is just an absolute disaster of a series for Deer. I feel for him. He played so good in the early stages, but Johan, he's in all the trouble here.
Yeah, Zest with a very aggressive build here with a proxy target. Deer completely not ready, gets caught off guard. And Zest is... he's like, I know you're going to counter-attack here. Like, you're just too far behind. There's no way you can recover from this in a macro game. He's just dropping down a bunch of shield batteries. He knows that all he has to do is hold on. Could even go for maybe for some Phoenixes here with how ahead he is, but for now he's just warping in a ton of gateway units.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate a Phoenix, but he probably just feels like he needs to make sure he doesn't go down right here, right now. Diaz is going to try to economically recover, but he ends up losing 2 more workers. This is insane. 24 probes for Zest against only 14 for Deer. At least Deer is getting those gateways, but Zest is like, it doesn't matter, I'm rich, you're not. As long as Zest has enough units to defend his ramp here and fight near his shield batteries, he's going to be more than fine, and he knows it.
Such a good game plan for the whole series, I feel like, by Zest. I mean, obviously he made a lot of adjustments on the fly, but it really went so well for him with the way he just went about playing in the series. And now he finds himself in a position where he's 8 walkers ahead than his opponents, and he might be about to get to the semi-finals.
Yep, he's working with the same units as well. The man who has won the Intel Extreme Masters in the past is looking very, very fine.
Having the Robo Bay when you're the defender here way earlier than your opponent is amazing as well.
Yep. I mean, he can just make a Disruptor, and Disruptor can connect with all those sentries. And then there's very little we can do other than try to maybe save them with a Warp Prism. But even then, Deer needs a little miracle here. He's slowly but steady trying to get back into it with the worker count. Oh, that Warp Prism took a lot of damage. Deer cannot make any more mistakes, and losing a Prism would already be disastrous.
That got really scary. Actually saving that sentry here is very nice for Zest as well. He will be losing a pylon.
I was surprised by that, actually. Well,
not to go for a big attack, I guess.
Yeah, maybe use the Colossus sort of as a force field breaker where you can just run through.
Yeah, this might take a while here.
Those are pretty powerful, but he's starting to work on it. Stalker's a bit out of position. Zest could potentially try to go dive back into the main base. Zest doesn't have a Warp Prism yet, right? I think he just went straight Colossus. That is indeed going to be the answer. A little bit of Warp Prism harassment here. You gotta be so careful if you're Deer. If this Prism goes down, Todd, everything goes down. It will be all over. Deer's already in a world of trouble. If he makes one more mistake, it is curtains.
I think Deer is reading the game really well, though. I think he fully realized that there was going to be a Robo Bay and going for a Stargate here. Not only could he shut down these Oracles, ooh, actually this Sentry is a little bit out of position for a second, he's going to lose one of them. But yeah, one Phoenix here could shut down both Oracles, maybe kill them, and then you're dealing better with these Robo Bay units. In this case, the one Colossus that was made from Zest. He's getting a Prism. Zest is going to want to get aggressive here upon getting that Prism.
I do kind of think that Deer wants to make the Phoenixes to deal with Disruptors, though. I mean, obviously Phoenixes can shoot at Colossus, but it just takes forever. I think if you are Deer and you know you're going up against this, maybe he should have gone for his own Robo Bay and hoped for a miraculous Disruptor hit. But don't forget, a big problem for Deer here as well, Todd, is that his Robo is outside of his base.
Wait, why is he expanding?
So, I don't know.
He's misreading this completely. He must have thought...
I think he's worried about Disruptors. He's like, I'm gonna try to defend against Disruptors, but instead he's going up against the Colossus. Deer is about to see that he's in so much trouble. The Immortals are gonna get a couple of shots off here, but now they are out of position as well. The Oracles are gonna babysit this Warp Prism, and Deer looks at an army that I think he knows he is just not gonna be able to defeat.
He might have thought that Colossus wasn't real. There is no way. Why would he expand here? Deer, you're about to be eliminated from the tournament. He does cancel the expansion, but now Zest can just kind of sit on the bottom of that ramp. And I don't think these Immortals can do too much about this. He's trying to weaken some of these units. The Warp Prism very low hit points, and there is still the potential from those 2 Oracles. He sees the Robo.
Zest can just go up, man. I mean, this Colossus can break force fields. This is gonna be it. Colossus a little bit out of position. He's gonna drop the Colossus on top of the force field. Zest actually struggling in trying to break that force field here. Fighting near all these shield batteries. This is actually kind of dangerous what Zest is doing here. Is Zest throwing this, Johan?
Yeah, there is a lot of shield batteries, and those Phoenixes are doing a ton. Zest is losing everything. Did Deer just come back in this? There's still ground units left over for Deer. He picks up those Immortals, pulls them back. Both players running out of units very quickly. The supply is plummeting on both sides.
Deer needs a couple more units. He still has a little bit of HP on that one Immortal. He still has these shield batteries. And obviously he took down the Prism. I actually think Deer is going to survive here. For some reason, Zest tried to get fancy, drop a Colossus on top of a
He pulled a bunch
force
of
field.
probes.
I mean, he was maybe over-mining. That's insane.
He could have done long-distance mining. That would have been more useful than this.
Oh my goodness. And now Deer, I think, still has a Phoenix or two, right? Did any Phoenixes survive? He's got 4 Phoenix. He can deal so much economic damage. He can pick off adepts as well. Oh my goodness. Zest with a throw that the average MLB player would be very proud of.
It's Dark Shrine. It's hidden Dark Shrine time here. I think that's about it. Like, nothing else will bring him back in this game.
But he didn't even kill the Robo, Todd. He didn't kill the Robo.
Oh, those Phoenixes, they're gonna have a field day here flying around, killing sentries. Oh, actually, that one survives.
You can actually kill a sentry in range of a shield battery with 4 Phoenixes, like 1 lifts and then the other 3 shoot, but you need to sync up the shots a little bit. And 1 Phoenix was too far away, but Zest is realizing that he's too far behind. Deer with an absolutely miraculous comeback.
Are you kidding me?
Everything was going wrong for Deer, Todd. He was in so much trouble. If that's the ladder game, if those guys are not playing at the Indox Remasters, I'll guarantee you that Deer would have left that game a long time ago. But never give up, never surrender. And suddenly he's on the board, and he still has a shot at making it to the semifinals.
And imagine if he was to come back after that. Oh my God. It feels like Zest just had this game in the bag. Got a little bit overeager here, went for the attack. And thanks to those Phoenixes, that transition was so clever by Deer.
I mean, I didn't even mind the attack from Zest. Maybe if you see your opponent has 3 shield batteries in his main base, it gets questionable. It was just the execution of the attack that was really bad by Zest. Colossi can walk over units, so you don't even need to get fancy with your War Prism and pick up a Colossus and drop it on a force field, which he then missed. You can just keep that Colossi in the middle of the ramp and move it north and south a little bit to break those force fields and get everything in the main base. That was just clumsy. There's no other way to put it. I mean, Zest has played some fantastic Starcraft today already. Going 5-1 in PvPs is sick, but that was a bit clumsy.
A slight misstep. Those do happen. But again, I feel like we need to commend Deer for, you know, staying in there.
Oh, absolutely.
And going for one of the only moves that I think could save him. You mentioned the Disruptor route. I think that also would have been okay, yeah. But going for Phoenixes was pretty bold. Not only is it good defensively against units like Disruptors, in this case against the Colossus, it helped out, then you can still pick up a few of the important units from your opponent, but then having that counter-attacking capability after that is obviously what sealed the deal for him.
We're going to head over to a very quick break, and after that we'll be back with, believe it or not, Game 4 between Zest and Deer.
We are back here and ready to close things out for this PvP. And Zest, at this point, he was up almost 3-0. He was almost done with this. Has Deer finally found the solution here to this matchup? Has he regained, or has he gained momentum?
He definitely gained. If that doesn't give you momentum, Todd, nothing in the universe is going to give you momentum. That was unreal. I'm sure that Deer already felt that this one was all over. But I guess this is why you got to believe, because even the best players in the world make pretty big mistakes sometimes. And that definitely went for Zest there on World of Sleepers. He's still alive, and hopefully he can now bring his A game, because he has a second chance that I think he realizes he was normally not supposed to get. In the right bottom side of Ephemeron, he's still down 1-2, but just won a miraculous game. It is Deer.
His opponent was looking pretty good, but did lose that last map. In the blue, it is Zest.
In this break, right, I'm trying to think of like a sports analogy or something to compare this to, right? And it almost feels like a football player is in front of an open goal, and instead of just shooting it in, he's like, I'm gonna do a bicycle kick because I've got all the time in the world. And then he somehow missed. Like, I have never seen someone trying to drop a Colossus on top of force fields to break a force field. And he misdropped.
Yeah, that's odd.
Colossi have very big legs, Todd. They can step over people. It's kind of like you and all the other casters out there, you know, they're so small you can just step right over them. That's crazy.
I wonder if their state of mind might be affected as well after this. Like, obviously, if you're Deer, you're pretty damn happy because you were almost out of the tournament. You've been given a second chance, as you said, but with Zest, definitely needs to not let that affect him too much.
I do think Zest, I mean, he is a previous Intel Extreme Masters world champ. I mean, he's been there, he's been everywhere. He's won GSLs. Zest has been around for so long. He should be used to silly things like this. Like, sometimes you're going to lose a game you're not supposed to lose. But if you talk about experience, if you talk about a veteran of this game, Zest is absolutely that. So I do believe that Zest can keep some composure and just move on.
Yeah.
But it's got to be tough, man, no matter how experienced you are.
We saw some pretty crazy comebacks already in this tournament, like not even just in one single match, but Showtime was down 0-2 in his group, finished up 3-2 and then advanced.
And don't forget about Hurricane. He was also 1-2 in his group, and then he had to play Cyril next. And normally it'd be like, well, that's it, mate. Pretty good run. Somehow stayed alive as well.
Yeah.
We'll see. Of course, Zest is still up one map, and that is the most important score that currently matters. 2 Stalkers come out. The probe at least spots the fact that there are 2 Stalkers being produced.
Some missed movement here for a second for Zest. Feels like he should have been able to kill that pretty easily. Does not get it.
He's actually almost looking for something immediately. He's going to proxy a pylon on the right top side as well. Deer does not spot it yet.
That falls to pylon, yeah, on the other side. So
I'm really surprised.
There's pylons being made all over the map, basically.
Yeah, it almost feels like Zest just knows that that is going to be the case. Finds that pylon immediately. We do see the Robo being slapped down by Deer. That is obviously just in the main base. Can these adapts get in the main? No, Zest is paying attention. Okay. So a little bit worried there that Zest wasn't paying attention, but he is. Zest is actually going to 3-gate pressure a little bit here, Todd. The 3rd gateway is just in the main though, right? Like, yeah. Interesting. Don't tell me he's going to proxy another gate.
He's hoping that Deer went for Nexus, but Deer didn't.
Adapts in the main base of Zest. Once again, get blocked. I do believe he got a probe there.
Yeah.
Confirm that, Marco. The other Adept does have 1 kill. I gotta say, it's always a good feeling when you shade 2 Adepts. Oh, force field went down. Stalker goes down on the other side of the map. Deer so far. I mean, actually, Deer's build is incredibly good against Zest's build right now, Todd. 2-gate Robo, and then with another gateway behind that is super good against this just straight up 3-gate. It seems like Zest wants to contain Deer. He warped in 3 sentries, I assume all on the other side of the map. That is correct. Can Zest indeed contain Deer, or will Deer feel confident enough the moment he has 1 Immortal to go down? But even if he doesn't, right, let's say he just defends in the main, this is going to be funny, because are we going to see a Robo Bay, are we going to see a War Prism?
I think just the Prism, yeah. This might backfire big time, because Deer has his Robo so much earlier, so that 1 Immortal is 1 unit that you need to really worry about. There is so many things that Deer could do. He could elevate his units outside of his base, then attack into that Zest army, and do a lot of damage.
There's 1 Adept, actually finds a kill already. 2nd probe should go down if the focus fire is correct. The focus fire is correct. Wants 1 more, does get 1 more. Well done there by Deer.
What's the Prism up to?
Prism is going to pick up a couple of units. Oh, he tries to shade on top of the sentries. Can he get a sentry? The answer is no. But now Deer is going to attack. And will Zest be able to defend without shield batteries? I honestly don't believe that Zest can keep this Nexus alive. If he tries that, I think that's crazy.
He has a good amount of sentries, but having the Prism here for Deer means that he can just pick up and evacuate if he gets force fielded in.
Zest needs batteries, man. Without batteries, this is no way.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of adepts, and sentries are going to have Guardian Shield, so I guess he's going to rely on that. That Immortal is not quite there yet. He does have some force fields to work with, but like I said, that War Prism, the big X factor in this army here, for Deer, who's looking to try and drop the main base.
Yeah, Deer actually is afraid to really commit there. I think with the Immortal and the micro potential of the War Prism, he would have been fine. Instead, he's just going to try to find a little bit of value by sniping maybe a Pylon or a Stalker. None of that is happening. So Deer is actually retreating. Zest got away with his expand. He does let his one battery finish up, which I really don't mind as a choice. And Deer instead follows this up with a very quick Twilight, and most likely will be going straight into charge.
Yeah, I mean...
Or maybe Glaives actually.
Yeah,
this
Glaives
could be a good Glaives.
It's also an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there it is. That means he's going to want to play aggressive here off the back of this. Probably hoping that Zest maybe gets a little greedy and, you know, goes for something wrong. Like, let's say, you know, he goes for a charge or something before you can have a lot of Zealots. An attack with Adepts would take out the Zealots very quickly, and then Adepts, they're somewhat tanky, and they will let the Immortals do the work behind it.
This is really cool. Robo Bay for Zest. This is definitely going to be for Disruptors. I feel like Zest just kind of knows what he could potentially go up against here.
Scouted with hallucination.
Yep.
I think you realized.
And this is funny as well, because early in this tournament, when Zest played against Showtime, Zest was actually the one going for the res. Oh! Not again. Oh my goodness, that's so much damage.
That was close.
You know, earlier this tournament, we saw as people are going nuts in this building. There's some other crazy esports happening as well, the Intox 3 Masters. Zest was actually the one going for Resonating Glaives against Showtime. Showtime realized what happened. He got a crazy amount of defenses, a lot of batteries, 1 or 2 cannons, and went for quick Disruptors. And now Zest is actually doing what Showtime was doing against him. He's like, hey, Demauer, not bad. I'll try those builds.
Thanks for the build, bro. Hey. Zest was in panic here for a second. Look at how many shield batteries.
Yeah, but I think that's the correct choice. Because yeah, he's stacking up though. That's kind of what you need. Because otherwise, if all of the adepts only show up and they shade on top of your army, you really need those static defenses. Otherwise, you just cannot hold.
He's getting Gravitic Drive and the Prism. So he might end up going for some harassment with this. And because Deer didn't go for Blink, it's going to be very hard for him to handle this properly. But Deer is going into charge. I think he realized that he probably couldn't attack in this game with Glaives and do any sort of like strong timing. So he's just transitioning into more standard. Gets one more Stalker here.
An Immortal even. That last one was an Immortal. Pretty sick. The double Stalker. Stalker, twice the price, but 4 times as good, Todd. There's a little barrier as well.
So who do you like this position for? Then it feels equal, right? They're just going for different compositions.
I don't really get why Zest is getting 3 more gates here. I honestly think that Deer got himself in a very good and playable position as he's getting more economic damage done as well. That's sick. I mean, if I was Deer, I'd just play very passive from this point. Be like, you know, I kind of like my spot. I'm getting Archons, I'm getting Zealots. I am the one with the Forge. I'm getting +1 as well. Technically, I like it for Deer. But obviously, in this matchup, one Disruptor shot can absolutely turn things upside down. That is -5 units immediately, Todd.
Yeah, Zest is really going to try and make the most out of this Prism here. Gravitic Drive, that means it's incredibly fast, can get away from so many situations. No. And units like not having Blink on the other side.
Oh my god, I think he just F2'd that War Prism and include of the Stalker. These 2 Immortals have an insane amount of kills. The Disruptor is going to try to shoot one more time. Blows up the Sentry, does a lot of damage to the Immortal as well.
Zest is actually going to attack. He's got way more army right now. 77 against 45. Deer has those 2 Immortals across the map. He goes up the ramp. There's 3 Archons, but there's too much for Zest. He needs to recall those Immortals from the other side of the map. There is just a single shield battery here. Can Deer hold on? Or will Zest move on to the semifinals?
The Disruptors are going to try to fire as well, and they will land a big shot in the middle of the Stalkers, and the Immortal goes down as well. Zest has an insane amount of adapts, no Resonating Glaives, but it apparently doesn't matter because the Disruptors are doing some mighty fine work here, and Deer's supply is plummeting.
Don't you dare go for this build against me. Disruptors are just going to be too much for Deer. His supply is plummeting. He barely has any fighting units left. 11 army supply against 43. Zest with a fantastic mirror matchup here. one single faux pas in game number 3. But other than that, he was perfect. And a 3-1 score here to move on and face Cyril in the semifinals.